Welcome to the deep dive. So, we've spent some time looking at how individuals, react to society's goals and rules. Thinking back to functionalism, Merton's strain theory.
Yeah, those individual adaptations.
Exactly. But today, we're kind of shifting gears, building on that, to look at something else. Subcultural theories of crime and deviance.
Mm.
And it brings up this really fundamental question, I think. Why do young people so often get involved in crime together, like in groups or gangs? What's actually going on there?
That's the core of it, really. Because, while looking at how one person responds is vital, crime isn't always a solo act, is it?
Not at all. Often seems the opposite.
Right. And subcultural theories give us this really crucial perspective on why it's so often a group thing. The idea is that certain groups, and the classic studies focus on young, working-class males, they form their own little worlds, their own subcultures.
There's different rules.
Exactly. Values that can be pretty different, sometimes even opposed to mainstream society. So, yeah, this deep dive should hopefully shed some light on why these groups form and how they work.
Okay, so if we're moving beyond just individual strain, what's one of the big explanations for why these groups form in the first place? Where do we start?
Well, a really influential starting point is Albert Cohen. He came up with this idea he called status frustration.
It's frustration, okay.
Yeah. Cohen was looking at working-class boys, and he noticed something. He argued they often buy into the mainstream goals, success, respect, getting ahead.
The things society tells everyone they should want.
Precisely. But then they run into problems, particularly in school. The whole school system, Cohen argued, is basically run on middle-class values, middle-class ways of behaving and measuring success.
When they don't fit the mold.
They often don't. They struggle to succeed by those rules. They don't get the respect. They don't achieve status in that setting. They effectively fail by the school standards. And that leads to this feeling of frustration, status frustration.
Okay, that makes sense. You want something, you can't get it through the proper channels, you feel blocked, frustrated. So what's the solution, according to Cohen? How do they deal with that feeling?
Well, his argument is that to solve this problem, to find a way to get status somewhere, they get together and form these delinquent subcultures.
Ah, okay. The group solution.
Yes. And here's the really clever bit, the core of Cohen's idea. These subcultures don't just ignore mainstream values. They actively invert them, turn them upside down.
Invert them? How so?
So think about it. Mainstream society, especially school, values things like respecting property, working hard, delaying gratification, being polite to authority figures.
Right, the standard good kids stuff.
Exactly. The delinquent subculture flips that script.
Yeah.
So respect for property becomes vandalism or theft. Hard work becomes goofing off, causing trouble, maybe truancy. Politeness becomes cheekiness or outright defiance.
Wow, so they create a system where they can actually win?
That's it, exactly. By inverting the values, they create a new game with new rules where they can achieve status and respect from their peers. They get props for the very things that get them condemned by teachers or the police. It's their way of hitting back at a system they feel has rejected them.
That's actually quite powerful, creating an anti-status system. But does that mean all these delinquent groups look the same? Or is there more variation? Because you see different kinds of youth crime, don't you?
Oh, definitely. And that's where Cloward and Ohlin come in. They took Merton's ideas about the strain between goals and means.
Yeah, the gap between wanting success and having the legitimate ways to get it.
Right. They agreed with that basic idea, but they added a really crucial layer. They said, look, it's not just that legitimate opportunities are blocked for some people, it's that illegitimate opportunities aren't equally available either.
Ah, okay. So access to ways of being criminal isn't the same everywhere.
Exactly. And this variation in access to illegitimate opportunities, they argued, shapes the type of delinquent subculture that emerges in a particular area. This helps explain why you see different patterns of group deviance.
Interesting. So what kinds of subcultures did they identify?
They outline three main types. First, you've got criminal subcultures.
Okay.
These tend to pop up in areas where there's an existing, fairly stable, organized pattern of adult crime. Think neighborhoods with established criminal networks, maybe some mafia influence, or just long-standing organized theft rings, that sort of thing.
Right, where crime is almost like a business.
Kind of, yeah. And in these areas, young people who are feeling that strain, that status frustration, they actually have opportunities to learn the ropes from older, experienced criminals. There's a kind of mentorship, an illegitimate career path. They can learn skills, make connections, and work their way up in the criminal world. It's deviant, but it's structured.
So like an alternative apprenticeship, but for crime. Makes sense. What's the second type?
The second type is conflict subcultures. Now, these emerge in areas that are much more socially disorganized. There isn't that stable, integrated criminal network providing illegitimate opportunities.
So no criminal mentors, no established routes.
Pretty much. The social fabric is weaker, maybe there's high population turnover, not much social cohesion. So without access to those structured criminal opportunities, how do young people gain status?
Violence, fighting.
Exactly. They turn to violence, gang warfare, defending turf. Status comes from toughness, from reputation, from winning battles against rival gangs. These groups are often less focused on financial crime and more on, well, conflict. They tend to be more unstable, maybe shorter-lived than the criminal ones.
Okay, so where there's no organized crime path, status comes from physical dominance and reputation.
Got it.
What's the third type?
The third type is the retreatist subculture. And this one is for the individuals who, according to Cloward and Ohlin, fail in both worlds.
Both worlds, you mean?
They can't make it legitimately through school or jobs, and they can't make it illegitimately, either in the criminal subculture or the conflict one. They don't have the skills or connections for organized crime, and maybe they're not tough enough or suited for the violence of the conflict gangs.
So they're blocked everywhere.
Yeah, Cloward and Ohlin called them double failures. It's quite a stark term. And their response, the formation of a retreatist subculture, is basically to withdraw. These subcultures often center around drug use, alcohol abuse, essentially dropping out.
Wow, double failures. That sounds incredibly bleak, a sort of total giving up.
It paints a pretty grim picture, yeah.
Sure.
It suggests a group response born out of failure across the board, leading to escape rather than crime or conflict as the main activity.
Okay, so this typology, criminal, conflict, retreatist, alongside Cohen's status frustration, it really broadens things out, doesn't it? So, thinking about this practically, what does it all mean for how we understand the different kinds of group crime we might see in different places?
It means the environment, the neighborhood context
Mm-hmm.
is incredibly important.
Right. So to kind of wrap this part up, this deep dive really underscores that group deviance isn't just random. It's often, maybe paradoxically, a structured response, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Whether it's Cohen's idea of status frustration, leading groups to flip mainstream values on their head.
Creating their own status system where they can succeed.
Exactly. Or Cloward and Ohlin showing how the local availability of illegitimate opportunities shapes whether that group response becomes organized crime or gang conflict or even just dropping out into drug use. It's about groups adapting to the specific blockages and, yes, opportunities, even illegal ones, that they face.
It shows that what might look like chaos from the outside often has its own internal logic, its own structure driven by these social forces.
Absolutely. If we pull back and connect this to the bigger picture, what these subcultural theories give us is a powerful way to see how social structure, things like class, the school system, neighborhood organization, how all that directly influences not just if people deviate, but how they deviate, especially in groups. It makes you ask, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What really strikes you when you think about how these different environments could basically breed different kinds of group behavior?
Yeah, it really does. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away. Think about this idea of inverted values or groups forming in response to feeling blocked or excluded. Can you see echoes of this in other kinds of subcultures, not just criminal ones, but other groups in society that seem to create their own ways of defining success or status because they feel shut out from the mainstream? Where else do we see groups building their own worlds in response to the wider one? Something to think about until our next deep dive.